Karma yogi will constantly focus on their duties and renounce the results of their actions. And these yogis, they will not hate the result or be possessive about it, even if it's good or bad. When they do this, everything they see, everything they perceive in this world will be equal. And therefore, they'll be free from all of these bonds of material actions and this attachment to this world. So, those who are able to see everything as the same are full of sattva guna. So both Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga are the same. And those who have a high amount of Sattvika Gunam will be able to see this clearly. Because you have to be pure to see what's pure. So perfect renunciation or Karma Sannyasam is difficult to attain without doing Karma Yoga. So we must do Karma Yoga to attain Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And those Karma Yogis, their intellect is always purified and they'll always be able to control their mind and senses. And through performing every action, regardless of what action they perform, they will never become attached or entangled in these material desires because they always think of one thing when they're doing the action. They always think that I am not the doer. So even when performing, like even when seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, moving, anything, even sleeping, they'll always think I'm not the doer. So with this type of knowledge and with this type of motivation to do an action, they will only see that everything around them is just material objects. They won't be attached to it because they know it's material senses that's around them. And those who dedicate their actions to Paramatma, so they do this by giving up attachment and abandoning like everything in this world. So when we give up attachment, then we always lose our desires in that action. So that action becomes a purification act, just to clear our desires and our senses. So those who do this, those who offer all the results of the activities to Bhagavan, they will be in peace. Whereas those other people who act based upon our desires, who act based upon our selfish motives, they become entangled in this world because they're attached to the results of their action. They're not concentrating on getting rid of that desire, but they're attached to that action, and that makes them create more desires and become more attached to this world. And those kind of people, they'll always be suffering because they won't know how to get out of this cycle. And those who actually attain peace do so by controlling all of their senses. So they close all the 9 gates in the body and they're free from all the thoughts. They don't think they're the doer. They don't think they're the cause of anything. They only do this as a selfless act. They only do every activity as a selfless act. And then Bhagavan moves on to saying, the creation is not Bhagavan's wish. So the Lord does not have any doership in our actions or the results of our actions. The world is just being supported by Bhagavan. That is how we must perceive this world. So he's not responsible for any good or bad deeds that we do on our own free will. He will only provide the 3 things for us. He provides the soul with the power to act. So he's basically giving us the energy to perform our actions. And once we have performed our actions with the power that he gave us, he will note our actions. And then he will give the results of our karmas. So Bhagavan is not entangled in this world or these material desires. He only provides us with the energy, and we must take that to perform our actions properly and selflessly. That's the main thing. We have to perform it selflessly. So just like the sun that illuminates everything when it rises, this divine knowledge, it will destroy all our ignorance, all our all our knowledge that we had so far, that ajnanam, it will be destroyed by this knowledge. And those whose intellect is fixed on Paramatma, those who are completely absorbed in him, have complete faith in him, these kind of people, they will quickly reach the state where there's no repetition of the cycle of life and death and life and death. And they will only do so by having their intellect fixed on Paramatma. And those who are actually able to see everything in this world equally with this eyes of divine knowledge, and we must have humbleness also to see this, because we can't, if we're just a mean person, we can't see a cow and an elephant equally, or a dog and a person who eats a dog equally. So we must have that humbleness, the quality of humbleness and this divine knowledge to be able to see everything equally and have our minds equiposed in everything. And like by doing so, those who have this firm understanding, this perfect understanding of this divine knowledge, they will not be happy or sad when something good or bad happens. They won't be attached to the external senses because they'll be happy within themselves. They don't need other material outcomes to be happy, to make them happy, because they're united with Paramatma, and they'll always be happy, and they'll always be happy. So the pleasures that arise from the contact with the sense object, so such like worldly minded people, like material minded people, so those who are always attached to everything, those who enjoy those kind of stuff, they will only have a beginning and end. So all these material pleasures, all these material things that we enjoy, they'll always be finite. That means they're always temporary, and they keep decreasing as we enjoy it. So if we constantly keep doing the same thing over and over again, then we won't enjoy it as much as the first time, because we'll get bored of that action, and we won't find the same type of happiness that we find. So one who is constantly able to push away from all these material desires, controlling their desire and their anger. So these are the two things that we have to control to be detached, their desires and anger. And to control these, we must not be the gate itself. We have to be the gatekeeper. So we must not be the body itself. We have to be seeing everything in the perspective of the soul and be absorbed in Paramatma. Then only we'll be able to push away from all these material desires and all these material pleasures. And those who actually found themselves, those who are actually happy within themselves, are always in this state of knowledge, in this state of inner knowledge, inner light of knowledge. And their minds will always be disciplined, and they'll always be devoted to the welfare of all other beings. And they will attain Paramatma because they'll be liberated from all these material existence, since they already controlled their anger and their lust. So anger and desire. We must control both of them to not be attached to any desire. And we have to also attain Paramatma with this sense of detachment. And Paramatma also starts to dive into the next chapter a little bit. So he starts by saying how to do meditation. So we have to shut out all external thought, all external enjoyment, by simply just fixing our concentration, our focus in the space between our eyebrows. So we have to equalize in like the flow of the incoming breath and the outgoing breath. So that's all we have to concentrate on. And we have to focus on the between our eyebrows. Then only we'll be able to control our senses, our mind, our intellect, And we will be free from all these desires and fear that we have. And those who realize this, those who realize Paramatma as the ultimate enjoyer. So regardless of what action we do, Paramatma is the ultimate enjoyer. Because he's always equiposed in everything, so he doesn't see a distinction in any activity or any type of activity. So he is the ultimate enjoyer. And those who realize this, they will attain peace because they won't be attached to anything else in this world. That's this chapter.
Nice, Talib. Very beautiful. So lovely. You almost went, always you do this, like every words has been touched. There's no words that has been left out. Only thing I can add is even this material energy that is there, like studies, wealth, success, fame, name, everything belongs to him. Sometimes we feel that the material wealth is not him, right? This is very wrong understanding, and we might get into this trap that we may understand only the divine devotion that we have towards Lord, the dhyanam, the meditation that we are getting into is the only essence where, the Lord exists. Rest all the material wealth that we have, it has to be left alone. It has to be disregarded. It has to be disrespected. It should not have any value in life. We cannot say that because in Advaita, there are no two things. There is only one, which is the Lord. Whether it is material energy or it is the spiritual energy, they both are the same divine. So then how we can get rid of that karma sannyasa or any of the material aspirations that we have, like for example, the results that come in, how can we get rid of that? We cannot get rid of the results because it is his wish to have that result, right? However, we need not have to attach to the result. That's the only thing we have to do. We have to take the result, accept the result as his prasada, and if possible, use that as a means to serve the society, but not overly attached. That's the only thing we have to do. All other things should run as is. The world should exist as is. Otherwise, there is no humanity. If there is no humanity, then there is no way service can be offered in this world. Service is offered only through the nature, and that nature must exist. Okay? So, now we know Anshutali, I know you joined now. Did you wanted to have anything about chapter 5? Any striking thing that comes to you when it is about chapter 5? Pranavi Akka has shared a good amount of summary. I will share it
I
again.
listened to the summary. There's nothing else.
Okay, Nana. Okay. So now, you have to understand that we are in the middle of this whole scenario is happening in the middle of a war field, right? And in the middle of the war field, why would somebody just think about it? The previous chapter name itself was Karma Sannyasa, which means renunciation of the rightful duties, isn't it? How is it possible? I mean, why would Bhagwan in any way, in the middle of the war field, ask Arjuna to renounce the duty? So let's not get into the misinterpretation that Bhagwan is trying to get him off the business, off the war field. No. See, all these are misinterpretations where people have quoted Bhagavad Gita wrongly. Chapter 5 clearly talks about having not an attention towards the end result, but yet perform the action so that the action does not get registered. Where? In the Chitta. Chitta is that repository in us which will capture the experiences that we go through when we perform an action. That experience, Bhagwan is saying, get rid of it. That means do your duty and you should not even know that you are doing a duty. Sing a song for bhajan, you should not even think how long you have been singing. You should not know how many people have appreciated. You should not even know where you are sitting. You should not even know that you are hungry. Such should be the spirit of singing bhajans for him. When you're drawing something, when you're eating something, when you're reading something, when you're helping someone, when you're operating, when you're on a, dealing with people, deal in a way that you don't know that you are even dealing. In a sense, understand that you're interacting with Bhagwan every moment, right? And when you are in that Holy Spirit, then obviously whatever comes in contact with you will, even if it is materialistic contact, will not leave a trace of experience on your chitta. That is exactly when your desires get slowly cleansed. Vasanas gets purified. And so Bhagwan is not saying don't work. He's saying work in a way that work does not get registered in you. Isn't it? So that is karma sannyasa. Now, for doing that, it is very difficult, when you are, it is like a ladder to somewhere, up. If you want to go up from ground floor to the first floor, there will be like at least 20-30 steps. Now you cannot directly land onto 30th step, isn't it? We have to step on the first and the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, finally get to 30th step. But we are not there yet. We need to leap out of it to get onto the floor, which is called the first floor. Now, what happened when you are on the 25th step? What about the first step? Do you even care? No, we don't even care. Why? Because that is left. That's over. That journey is over. When we are into post-graduation and graduation, do we care about what was my grade in my first grade or like kindergarten or third grade? What were my grades like? Do you even want to know that? No. Why? We unregistered it already. How could you unregister if you were constantly in the same grade ever since? Will you be able to unregister that? No. The only way to unregister something is lift yourself up so that you can leave something behind. To gain something, we have to lose something. This is the philosophy of life. So when we actually have to leave our affinity, our attachment, our interest to the result, then we have to catch hold of something else. If we don't catch hold of something, we will not be able to leave this. I will always be in that third grade. So I have to catch hold of fourth grade qualification. Then I can leave third. Then only somebody can say, oh, you are not in third anymore, right? Similarly, Bhagwan gave a beautiful exercise towards end of 5th chapter that will help us leave kama, krodha, ichha, and lobha, greed, want, and anger. Free from all of these three, these are the main enemies of any spiritual person. Regardless how much knowledge he or she may have, regardless of how many times Bhagavad Gita has been read, but these three enemies, as long as they are there in us, we will not be able to make a great progression on our spiritual path. So Bhagwan is not directly giving you an idea of what to leave. He is also telling us how to live. In the last, when he said about the pranayama, he said focus between the eyes and, balance your breath at the level of the central point between the two nostrils. He did not give that just as a physical exercise. He also said the very next, if you see, he says, I am the enjoyer in everyone. Which means what? While we are performing this activity of meditating through focusing on our breath, focusing on a particular spot, and then thinking about Paramatman, we will get the distractions. every distraction that I get. It could be a horn outside on the road. It could be a crying baby in the house. It could be a yelling mother on your brother, whatever it is. All those sounds, all those distractions, all those things that are keeping you away from what you are doing right now, focusing and meditating, will have to be considered as Paramatman's presence. That is very, very important. Only then you will accept it and then enjoy his presence in that also. So Bhagwan is not letting that, focus on this and, forget about everything else. That's what most people do, wrongly interpreting Bhagavad Gita. There are sannyasis who stop eating. They say, I don't eat. I will not eat anymore. I don't need food. And they just rely on water and, these things. There are sannyasis who would say, I would not need any clothes. These are all material. I will leave it. There are people who would say, I would not earn anything. I will just go out somewhere and then live alone. I don't need family. I will leave my family and go alone. So these are all various sannyasas. Sannyasa means, leaving away. So they leave away these materialistic bondages, thinking that they are in the right path. They may, but it is not that Bhagwan is telling in chapter 5. Bhagwan is saying, do what you are doing, while parallelly, on the other hand, focus on the spiritual journey. Both have to go parallel. When we are reading as students I know you are all like in graduation or colleges and schools. This is not the time where you should think that, oh, I have to leave everything and focus only on God. No. While we are on the materialistic journey, understand that this material energy is also God. The books that I'm reading, the games that I'm playing, the food that I'm eating, everything has God's presence in it. So I be with it and use that for the benefit of society. Parallelly, I will indulge myself in a journey that pulls me, that drifts me towards Bhagwan and Ishvara. Both have to go in parallel. So for doing this, Bhagwan has given a beautiful experiment of meditating. Chapter 6 will take us exactly in that spot. It will take us into the journey what exactly sannyasa means. What is the actual yoga? What is the meaning of yoga? Right? Every 1 in 10 in America now are in the form in learning, in the process of learning yoga. There is nothing called as yoga. There is no YOGA in Sanskrit. There is only YOG, Yog. Yog means unification with Paramatma. The consciousness that is there, which is a reflection of Lord in us, has to go back and merge into his real essence. Which means what? Where my shadow on the mirror and me are just the same. That means there is no mirror at all, right? So that is where the journey is. Now our journey is from that reflection to the actual which I am, right? So that journey is not somewhere outside. Don't think I am here. This is his reflection, God's reflection, which is called Pavan. And then God is somewhere else. So I have to like climb something. They both are present at the same time. I can only, if I am lucky, I will be able to see his reflection in me. If I am lucky, if I go through this process of controlling everything and then, moving through karma yoga and all that, which has been mentioned and prescribed in Bhagavad Gita. If I do that, I'll be lucky to at least be aware that there is such a reflection. Otherwise, nobody would be aware of this also, right? So this Bhagavad Gita, and here especially this particular chapter number 6 called as Dhyana Yoga or Atma Samyama Yoga, is all about meditation. It is about how we can focus on Paramatma, how I can always connect with him, regardless of what situation I am, good, bad, ugly, I will still be able to connect with him. That is the essence of chapter 6. Now, I have one question for you, and I want you to think and answer. Why in the middle of a war ground, Bhagwan want Arjuna to learn and understand meditation? Think about it. Why? Why would Bhagwan just say, meditate upon me? Especially when you have all your enemies lined up and ready to fight. Of course, Arjuna is also ready to fight. We all know that. He wants to fight now. He is not, afraid of anything. He is not sad, sorrow like how is in chapter 1. Chapter 1, he was completely dull. Chapter 2, Bhagwan gave a very high level spiritual awakening of, what Atman is, what Bhagwan is, how spiritually one should get connected, what Sthira Buddhi is, right? How we can have intellect and mind not working independently, but as a slave to Paramatman, as a servant to him, as a servant to the Lord. And finally, he ended up into Karma Yoga, how a duty has to be performed, what duties are to be performed, what not to be performed. Then he said, while performing these duties, how you can, start understanding the knowledge also behind. And using that knowledge, how you can renounce the duties or unregister the duty from oneself. What is this progression? I have to work. I'm getting towards renunciation of duties, unregistering my duties, and slowly into meditation, but I'm still in the middle of the war ground. Why Bhagwan is giving this meditation? Knowledge about dhyana. Why? Anyone wants to try? Just a guess is also good. The answer to this is already there in chapter 2, where he introduced the meaning of yoga, I think in 54th verse or 50th verse. 54th, I guess. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. In yoga only you can attain the best results out of an action. What? How? We discussed it then also. How? When you are in yoga, when we are in meditation, when we are in unification with Paramatma, how the results will be perfect? For that, we have to understand what makes results imperfect. While working, if I have agitations in my mind, and most of the medical associates would know this, when I'm working and if there are agitations in my mind, that work will be impacted because everything is connected. The body, the mind, and the thoughts are all connected. The thoughts, the kind of thoughts that come to me during a particular period or in a given moment in time will decide what I am going to perform. The same limbs can lift a 500 kg weight, but yet fail to lift a 20 kilo bag. Right? How? The 500 kg weight, when somebody is lifting, he is completely focused onto something. And then his entire body, mind, energy is all focused onto that. He's doing it. But for a 20, let's say if a baby is crying somewhere, his heart and emotions are towards the baby and he has to lift a bag of 20 kgs, he may not find enough energy to lift that up. Why? Because his complete attention is gone somewhere else. Right? So there are a lot of neuromuscular interactions that happen in the body, which when going through an agitated mind will not provide and produce the best results. The only way to produce the best result is to keep the mind really calm in its highest blissful state. At that point in time, whatever activity we do will yield the best results possible out of that action. Arjuna is in war with not ordinary people. Arjuna is at war with Bhishma, who has been blessed that he can die whenever he wants. He is war with his own teacher who has taught him all the archery and skills that he possesses today. He is fighting with one of his strongest contemporary who has been treated and has been awarded much better than Arjuna, which is Karna on the ground. He is warring against some of the most fearsome warriors of that times. How can he be even a minute level lesser efficient than what he should be? He has to be 100% efficient. Now you know why the meditation is being taught in the middle of the war ground. This means praying, serving people, doing charity, having spiritual awakening is not only meant for old age people. It is meant for anybody who is in action. Anybody who is in action. It could be a doctor, it could be an engineer, it could be a student, it could be a father, mother. Anybody who is in action, performing a particular duty, needs meditation as an important activity in a day-to-day life. And being in a meditative spirit throughout the day will only make one efficient in whatever he or she is doing throughout the day. Isn't it? That is exactly why meditation is being taught in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. Not to scare small kids to stay away from whatever they are. Not to keep the busy people who are in the world earning money, doing a lot of activities and supporting people, to get out of that and then just do meditation and stay in temple from morning till evening. No, you don't have to stay like that. Okay, all right. So this chapter also, interestingly, calls out for a question in the middle of the chapter. Arjuna asks a very interesting interesting question to Bhagwan. Bhagwan, yeah, with all this knowledge, one would be eager. Like, I know with this kind of a discussion that we had since like when we started, right? We pretty much know that we all want to learn. We all want to like gain more knowledge and we want to see what more is there in Bhagavad Gita. But at some point in time, it may happen, and it has happened to me, it has happened to many others also. We may want to just, give it up. We may just fall apart. We may just not be able to maintain that continuity. What if I want to learn? I wanted to get through this. It is interesting to me, but I'm short of my life. I'm done. I feel I'm disconnected now. What then? Look at the compassionate Lord. He says, Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. Whatever you have attained so far, not even a smallest trace of it will go waste, Arjuna. I will save it for you. So whenever you get a chance to come back to the ground again, want to practice this again, want to continue your journey again, I will make you start exactly where you left. So some people say, uncle, I am joining sixth chapter. I'm joining seventh chapter. I mean, I think best example, Pranavi joined seventh chapter or something first time, isn't it, Pranavi?
Yeah, uncle, I joined on the 6th chapter.
Which one?
6th chapter, this one.
6th chapter. So where we join, it signifies where we were through many lives so long. There is never Bhagwan would just, not allow you to join anywhere in the middle. The beauty of Bhagavad Gita is you can join anywhere. It's about our prarabdha. If we are bound to know, we will know. He will make sure that we know. So none of the things that are going on will go waste. Have the assurance that this is the only place where even after a long disconnectivity, one can always come back and join because of the faith towards Lord. And in his own words, he said, I am going to protect very safely whatever is your current state. Good state, bad state, whatever it is. Whatever is your level of understanding at this point in time, I will protect that when? At a time when I am gone. Gone in the sense? Gone from within this body, leaving this body out, that is called the physical death. Or gone from my intellectual capacity. I left everything off and then I transition into another journey, a materialistic journey. This happens to sannyasis also, when we don't understand sannyasa carefully, get through like strong, rules, and we build boundaries and say, hey, I have to like stay away from my family. There is a spot on the mountain where I have to go sit and do prayers all the time. some point in time, people feel, oh my God, I'm so stressed out with this. I think the previous life was better. And then they go back and join. That does not mean that their interest, their inclination towards a spiritual path was wrong. No. The mode that they might have taken could have been wrong. Right? They may have, out of all these things, see, Bhagavan said, leave this, leave that, leave this, right? Leave anger, leave attachment to the results. But we have to understand one thing. If I say stop running, stop running, stop running, will you go to your final goal? No. No. So I can say stop running after all these materialistic attachments, and also have to give another word. I have to say start your journey towards the devotion and dhyana. If I just tell you where to stop and then don't tell you how to proceed, you will be at a place where you don't know what to do. And there are highly the chances that you will go back into the path where you wanted to stop, right? So we will get up into the same cycle again. So it is not just stopping, it is also starting into a different direction. That's why Bhagavan says parallelly invoke the spiritual path. Don't leave that spiritual path. It is not an option. It is a mandatory affair that must go along with our materialistic life that we are living in. Both go hand in hand. So the essence of chapter 6 will be obviously to keep us on the path of spirituality. The idea here is to inject dhyana, devotion in us. Dhyana will not come. We cannot buy that anywhere. The only way we can have dhyana means a complete focus on Lord, nothing else, and feeling his presence in everything else. For example, even if I'm working, I feel his presence. That constant devotion is called dhyana. And how people who are performing all the activities in their regular life and being devoted at the same time are very special than a good, knowledgeable saint is the ultimate thing that Bhagavan is going to say towards the end. Okay, that is this chapter. So we will continue this chapter in the next session. We will start this chapter in the verses in the next session. But that is in nutshell how Bhagavan is going to treat us throughout this chapter 6. Thank you for joining and having the chapter 5 summary. It was great. I'll send the recording as well that we have today. Let's do the closing prayers. Any final thoughts from anyone? Sheetal, you've been silent? No? No thoughts, anything? No thoughts is good. But any other final comments from anyone? Okay. So then let's, now you understand why meditation has been discussed in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita. It's just like middle of life, we need this. Okay. Let's do the closing prayers. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavi Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you, everyone. Wish you good rest of the week. Stay healthy and stay happy. We'll come back and discuss chapter 6 the next session. Okay?
Thank you, Jai Shri Krishna.
Bye. Jai Shri Krishna.
Bye.
Bye.